There are no safe spaces in life. Equality is desired by the weaker. The stronger allow the opportunity for the weaker to complain. Hello, it's August 2022. What exactly do I mean when I say fear is my ally and pain is my friend? It almost sounds like a tough thing to say, but it's not. In fact, it comes from the opposite direction. What it really means is to become okay with fear and pain, however, not to be consumed by it. And that's the difference that I highlight, not to be consumed by any emotions. Fear is something that can drive someone when not consumed, and it can push someone beyond their limits. Pain, whether it be, for example, emotional or physical, just to be able to endure it, to have that inner strength to endure it. Now, mental, emotional could be simply pressure, stress, having to overcome the invisible foe, for example, that I've talked about. An invisible foe can be pretty much a lot of things. For example, the whole concept of currency, money, is an invisible foe. Now, yes, you can hold paper money, but it's not real. Its value comes from people accepting its value, but that's a whole different tangent. The invisible foe can also be, for example, unjust laws. Now, we do need laws to structure our social communities, whether it be small or society overall, civilization. Without some sort of structure, then people can just willy-nilly do whatever they want. But there's an inherent, as a descriptive law, that, again, as a descriptive, can be attributed to divinely inspired, genetically programmed into our very core. For example, harming others, physically and even emotionally. We know inherently that that's wrong. And for example, people who train for combat have to overcome that. Now, fear will definitely play a role in overcoming that type of scenario. And in life is about survival. And sometimes you have to fight physically and emotionally. But you have to be strong. You have to have the inner strength to be okay with it, to find that peace. Say, for example, as I've said in recent videos, peace through violence. Now, I'm not promoting violence at all. Not at all. I don't like violence. But more so in my youth, I became good at it, but I directed it towards something positive, or at least that was my intention. For example, to protect other people, or to test my skills against others in, well, back then, a reasonably controlled environment. But I never got into conflicts, physical conflicts, as a descriptive in the streets or in bars or anything else. That I don't like that kind of conflict. And I don't even like verbal conflict. Now, I just want to make something very clear. I'm not one of these love and lighter types, or, you know, peace, love, happiness, and everything else, or carrying any kind of utopian delusion. Not at all. I'm what you'd call old school. I'm not politically correct. Couldn't care less for that nonsense. I have a dry sense of humor. Sometimes it's could be very crude, but in a very tactful way. There was a descriptive, I guess you could say, my early 20s, where he would say that I'm a cross between, at the time, who I was, cross between James Bond and a comedian by the name of Andrew Dice Clay. So I was very well refined, very cultured, presented myself very well, dressed well, but I had a very raw side of me, and I combined the two. It's almost like having something sweet and salty, like those sweet and salty granola bars or something. You have the two contrasting flavors. And that was me in my youth. Now who I am today, different. We change throughout our lives. And sometimes people don't change. Sometimes a lot of people don't seem to change. They are who they are, and for example, they maintain immaturity throughout their whole life because they never grow up. Now, one of the things I'm just going to briefly segue to for a moment is when you look at people who are trying to hang on to their youth, they don't want to grow up. And we see this, we can observe this with people who are obsessed, consumed by their physical appearance, their body. For example, they work out and they diet, right? And none of that means that they're healthy, nor does it mean that they're adding to their lifespan. It's just more for ego. They haven't grown up. Now, I've shown pictures of my youth when I was bodybuilding and training and fighting and everything else, how I looked. And actually working out and looking like that was, as a descriptive, a side effect of a need. I worked out because I needed that for my, for example, fighting skills, to be able to perform, to do what I needed to do, or perhaps even what I wanted to do. But I've been there, bought the shirt, and I'm long done with it. Would it be nice to have even part of that look now? Sure, why not? But I mean, you have to dedicate a lot of time, and you become consumed by training, for example. So there's a lot of people who don't move on from that. They don't grow out of that. And one observation that I've noticed, people, for example, who train a lot and, say, for example, bodybuild, look great with regards to that when they're younger, they tend to, when they're older, not really care about it too much. But people who didn't do that when they were younger will seek that out when they're older. It's almost as if people have to go through things, but not everyone does these things at the same stage in life. And ultimately, we all end up at the end of the race. As I've said, none of us are getting out of here alive. And that's a reality. And there's nothing that, well, actually, I'm going to pose this as a question. Prove what someone does or does not do adds to their lifespan. I'll leave it at that. So, fear and pain. That fear is my ally, pain is my friend. It's not to sound tough or even have some sort of tough mantra or anything else. It comes from fear and having that inner strength to keep a balance with fear and mental and physical pain. And this ties into, for example, when you're fighting for something, for example, truth and justice. If you are someone who is in the right on whatever topic, whatever it is in your life, if you are in the right, don't be consumed because that moment of, for example, injustice has passed, and you can't live in the past, because as long as you're hanging on to the past, you can't move forward into the future. However, you can still fight for truth and justice, if that's what it is. And you will always have to fight to survive in this world. So really, I just wanted to give you something to think about with regards to endurance, the war of attrition. And really, that's what it boils down to. And I've done videos for the past few years about the war of attrition. It's enduring. And in the previous video, I talked about how the character Rocky Balboa was telling his son in the movie, it's not how hard you can punch but it's how hard you can be punched and keep moving forward. And that's very, very motivational. Overcoming, adapting, and moving forward as best as you can. Be prepared. Anyway, I hope I just given you some things to think about with regards to being motivated to endure, finding that inner strength. And a lot of people, especially in today's world, lack that. And we see sometimes, especially online, where they come up with some really cool name and some really cool thumbnail for their photo, and they're hiding behind that, but really they're nothing like what they're trying to present. And I'm just going to finish off with something here which ties in with what I just said. If you were to, or when you talk, say talk real tough, or say this is what I'm going to do, or you have these thumbnails, really cool thumbnails, or online names and everything else, what you're doing is you're releasing that potential strength, and just fades away, just like smoke from a fire just fades away. What you want to do is you want to take that as a descriptive energy, keep it within, because that, when you keep it within, you maintain that strength and you build up on it. I'm implying here in a very positive way, and not to be consumed by it. Anyway, just things to think about. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share.
Listen to this and write it down if you can't remember it. You're never going to outgrow warfare. You simply must learn to fight. I hear people saying to me, oh, when is it going to get easier? When you die.